Hi and welcome. Welcome to the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law. And, well, hey, anything else we want to talk about. And today is going to fall into the category of and anything else we want to talk about. I have a dear friend of mine with me today, Molly McGrath. Molly, how you doing?
Oh, hi, Jeff. I'm so honored to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun. For my listeners, Molly and I met in 2009 in a national organization that we both were a part of. And, I always say that organization changed my life personally, professionally. And Molly certainly had a big, 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 big part of that. And, my mama always told me, you don't forget who got you to the dance. So
Uh,
Molly is definitely one of those people. And then she went on to help me hire numerous of our team members and also coached our team for a while and certainly has a fingerprint on our firm and always will. So it is an honor to be here, Molly. I can't wait to talk to you and my listeners learn a little bit about you.
oh, thank you for having me. I can't believe it's been what, 13 years?
Yeah.
How's that
I
possible?
know it's crazy. It seems like yesterday. Do you remember like when we first met and kind of get to know each other, just out of curiosity?
I do. Yes. Yeah. Like you said, we belong to a legal organization. And I have to tell you, Jeff, for your listeners, I've been in the legal space for 26 years. I am not an attorney. As Jeff said, I'm really passionate about coaching and leading and staffing and empowering law firm teams, in particular, estate planning and elder law. And, maybe we'll get to this, but I'm one of six kids, big Irish Catholic family, and we fight as hard as we love, and so I have many different personal stories around estate planning. But when I got into the organization, I quote unquote, or the industry, fell into it. I never knew much about attorneys other than really bad attorney jokes and the stereotypical that they're money hungry, they're arrogant, they're all these things that I hear, right? So I moved from New York to Colorado in 1997 and um, opened up. I don't know if you guys remember this thing called the classified ads in a newspaper. And I open up the paper and I'm like, oh, great. Okay, they're looking for a project manager. I lived in downtown Denver, went and interviewed for National Network of Estate Planning Organization. That organization changed my life because that's where I met many of my dear friends and in particular the organization that Jeff and I are talking about, that where we met. That's where I met my partner, and together we just created an extraordinary. I just changed so many estate planning law firm lives. And talking with them, they're talking to me about estate planning. Like, well, that's for the rich. And, hearing it in my first, they hired me on this spot and they said, you're going to Atlanta, you're going to a collegium, a national conference with all these attorneys. I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, this is going to be so boring. I'm not an attorney. I know nothing about the law, blah, blah, blah. And I'm there to help put on the event and support the event. And I remember sitting in the kickoff keynote and hearing about what estate planning attorneys do for families. And I mean, I'm literally in the back of the room sobbing because we had just a week before that buried my grandmother who was in a nursing home, and we had to make the decision to put her in a nursing home. Like, I didn't just fall into this industry. I didn't just answer a job. I was divinely led to this as a career. It just hearing, and so what I really want to applaud you, Jeff, because I'm sitting in this room like, wow, this is in 1997 where coaching wasn't a street term. It wasn't for me. I didn't really know a lot about investing in coaching, especially for attorneys. And many of these attorneys were like, coaching, what's coaching? And we launched a coaching program there. And I just want to applaud you for, as an entrepreneur, as an attorney, as a servant leader, to really investing in these organizations to provide, compassion driven counsel to your clients, to really pour into your team. I mean, you are the top of the top of really investing and empowering your team, because without our team, without our people, and this is what I'm really passionate about, we can't do anything. We can't do it alone, and our clients don't want us to do it alone.
No, they might think they do, and every now and then you hear the, well, I want to talk to Jeff. I want to see. I want. The truth is, the team is way better than me.
Yeah.
I surrounded myself with people who are far better at everything they do than I'm ever would be, and I love that. That's what I want. You know, my dad always said, if you're the smartest person in the room, get in another room. So I am not, and I love that about it. So it's wonderful. But you made a great point, and you know, I like to think it's all estate planning and elder law attorneys that share those traits and attributes, but specifically the organization that we met at, you know, I to this day believe that we're different, and you know,
Yes.
we're very abundant. We're definitely helping each other, and in an industry where I think a lot of times there's competition, and as you know, I'm abundant, and I don't believe in any of that. I think that, you know, a high tide raises all boats. So it's a great to be around people who are like-minded, and certainly I think, you know, from the top, as an owner of it, I think you instilled that in all of us and demanded it and wouldn't accept anything less from us. And maybe there were a few people who didn't fit, and in my opinion, I think that that's why they didn't, is because they didn't share those core values and share those same beliefs that we were all about, and that you kind of stemmed down from the top. So, you know, first of all, thank you, but
Wow.
also, you know, it's amazing to just be around other people who are like-minded and want to be better, and you know, it's also always nice to give back too. Never hurts.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about attorneys. You know, being abundant, the organization, when COVID hit, so for your listeners, I'm very passionate about staffing and also training and empowering and coaching team members. I have a program called the Law Firm Admin Boot Camp, and it's really taking everything that Jeff learned in the coaching program that he was in, and he spends a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money on coaching and personal and professional development. But as team members, I see it as a gift for them and to pour into and to help develop their personal and professional development. Like somebody did for me way back in 1997 and took a chance on me, and I would not be who I am today or what I'm up to and what I'm passionate about without coaching and personal and professional development. So that's my passion, that's my why, is for, you know, from the person answering the phone and greeting your clients to sitting in the conference room and serving that, to helping you in the workshop and your maintenance program and all that, because they're extension of you and of your heart and soul and spirit. And you know, it's just my great, it's what I really truly want to go to the grave doing. If I could transform one receptionist, if I could transform one paralegal, marketing coordinator, what have you, then my work's done. And so when you talk about other attorneys, COVID hits 2020, my hiring side of my practice blows up because there's a 0.8% unemployment rate with associate attorneys, and law firms were really getting very busy. Interesting, up until that point, I never worked with another law firm or industry other than estate planning and elder law. Now we have criminal defense, family law, with all different, you know, mergers and acquisitions, ton of personal injury, what have you. And talking with these other attorneys and talking with their staff, honestly, it broke my heart because there's a massive, massive, massive need in other areas of law that I think estate planners have in their bones and blood and that they're born with, which is a servant leader heart. You know, a lot of times I'll hear people, and Jeff, you know, Dave used to always say, we do hug planning in estate planning and elder law. And a lot of times attorneys, you know, other attorneys would say, oh, estate planning attorneys are just social workers with a law degree. And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
they are.
Absolutely.
Yes, they are, and that's what makes them so great. So, you know, the industry, you as a whole, all the training that you have, you as a human being, but it's just really, I'm like, you know what? Now I know why there's those bad lawyer jokes out there. They don't have an abundant mindset, but also a very servant heart. And I'm not being generalist, but I'm just saying by and large, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of work to be done in the legal industry that you all really truly come with batteries included because that's why you chose this area of law.
Yeah, and you have a pretty active podcast too. I see coming up constantly on my feed.
Yes.
That is
Every
awesome. Tell the listeners about it. I think it's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, thank you. It's a passion project for certain people are always like, "Oh," I'm like, "I don't care. It's just me a way for me to leverage my message and to I bring on guests. You've been on my podcast and
Have.
maybe we put in the show notes because your story about your mom and everything was just so wonderful. I'll never forget when I did that podcast. I was actually on vacation with my daughter and her best friend, and you and I did it like 6 a.m. my time. I was in the hotel, they were sleeping in bed. And when I hung up with the podcast from you, Lucy, Ella's friend or what have you, she goes, "That's what your attorneys do?" And she's
Oh,
like, got crocodile tears in her eyes. She goes, "That was the nicest man. He's an attorney. Oh my goodness." And they were probably 13 at that time. But I've had my podcast for 4 years. It's called Hire and Empower. And I bring on all different guests and I do some solo episodes. And by and large, my message is about teaching, training, or empowering attorneys to really see their team as an asset. I talk a lot about communication, leadership, what it takes, what an attorney's up against every day for each, the attorney and the employees to get into each other's perspective and see and realize like it is a team centric approach to be able to serve clients. And I talk a lot about what clients are going through. So just my passion about transforming the workplace really with a definitely I'm very passionate about estate planning and elder law.
yeah, I love listening to it. And I mean, you've
Thank
done,
you.
if I'm not wrong, what, 270 some or even more, maybe?
Yeah, I think I'm coming up. Yeah, on that.
That is
I 4 years
crazy.
now. I just clipped the 4 year mark, and I just love it. I think I missed maybe 2 weeks in 4 years. I do a weekly every Tuesday. I drop an episode.
Wow, I think we're only in like the 30s, so I have a long way to go, I could tell you. That's awesome. Well, that is so
Thank
cool. And
you.
is most of the hiring assistance that you give mostly with the legal industry or using other industries that you're doing or just legal?
Only legal.
Okay, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
really passionate about supporting law firms. I mean, and the team members. So yeah.
That's so cool. And you may not even remember this, but I've gotten so many lessons from you over the years, from the coaching and also just being around you and being at events. But a couple in particular, like I don't remember exactly where we were, but I remember sitting with you having a conversation, and you were asking me who was the most important person in the firm. And of course, like an egocentric, and I am not that person at all, as you know.
No.
But I said, well, I would assume it would be me, and you're like, absolutely not. Nope. It is the person who answers the phones. It is the person who greets your clients. It is the person, your director of first impressions. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, and if you don't invest in that person and get the right person, you might as well just not even bother. And it was one of those lessons that to this day in my mind, when I hire, that is the single most important person that we're hiring because you're right. You do not get a second chance. And when we were coaching, there was a team member that we had years and years ago when you were helping us coach that you pulled me aside pretty early on and said, I really don't think this person's a fit. I really don't think that he or she shares your core values. I don't think that they are who you are at their embodiment, and that I really would pay attention to this. And I'm not suggesting you fire anyone. I'm not suggesting just pay attention. Let it happen around you. And you were so right. Like I don't know that I would have seen it as quickly as I did had you not given me that kind of warning. And you just have this ability to see things in people that when you're in it, you can't see it, and you're able to spot it from a mile away. And so I never got an opportunity to say thank you for that. And I wanted to kind of do that publicly to say thank you because you saved me a lot of heartache.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I do remember that conversation. And I remember, how coachable you are. You are not egocentric because there are a lot of, I still say that message consistently. People will call me and say, "Hey, I need just a receptionist." And I'm like, interesting. If you look up the definition of entry level, It means the lowest level on the employment hierarchy. So if you want somebody that is going to accept and apply for that definition of a job, those are the results you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so, though the receptionist and the director of first impression that answers your phone is the most important, because your clients, they're scared, they're overwhelmed, they're confused because of all the tons of information out there, especially with social media and all this other stuff. And it's our job in 20 seconds to calm their heart.
Yeah.
And
And it's
so,
hard.
thank you for being coachable on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very difficult skill to, you have two ears and one mouth, use them proportionally, and ask all the right questions. And that was something that you coached us on numerous times, and we had training around. And it's still some of the lessons that I remember more than anything. I don't know that there's a lot of our team members. We certainly have grown since the time that you and I were working together, but we did recently have communication training, and there were a few of the team members that were like, "Oh man, why are we spending so much time on this?" And I think it is the single
Me
most
too.
important thing, particularly the people on the phones and interacting with clients. I mean, it's all about the right questions, and you were always very kind of poignant about that. Like, don't assume you know the answer. Ask the right questions to get the answer. So it certainly didn't go unnoticed, and I certainly didn't fall on deaf ears. I can promise you that.
No, no. You're the poster child for boss of the century, I would say. Truly. Yeah.
You and I have a dear friend, Roz, and she was just telling a story this week who she had a team member who had worked for her company, and Roz is our marketing director, and she is, continually adding more to our, marketing repertoire, as you will. And she had a team member that she wanted to also work with our firm and, do some stuff for us, because a lot of the, she is the vision. She kind of is directing everything, but she's having boots on the ground to help kind of implement everything. And, certainly that's not a small task. And
No.
she asked a team member to work for us. And she was sharing on Monday that the team member called her last Friday and said, I no longer want to work with your company anymore. And Roz was okay with it. She was happy with it. That's where she was hoping it would go, so that she could be with us. And she said, I've gotten to know the team, and I've gotten to watch Jeff's videos and who he is as a person and what he does for the community. And I got to listen in on a call with a person that they helped. And I just want to be with them. I just want to work with them, and I just want to help that mission. And I thought she was going to be upset with me, because, and she's like, oh, no, that's what I wanted. Like, I love it. But I had to share it with the team. And she shared it with the entire team, with the team member on the call as well. And it was kind of neat, and
Oh,
as I
yes.
was reflecting, preparing for today, and I was like, a lot of that all comes from Molly. Like, that is the stuff that you instilled in me from 2009 and every year beyond, and it just never left me. It just stayed with who I am, and I was like, well, I do want to make sure that credit, where credit is due, I give it, and I don't know that I've ever verbalized that, but that
Oh.
story just happened this last week, and it's like, how fitting that I was getting on a call with you today. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, is there any reason in particular, and I guess I'm kind of leading here because I think I know the answer, but is there any reason in particular that you gravitated towards the estate planning? Was there any personal events or anything that kind of led you there?
Yeah, like as I said earlier, I'm one of six children, one of 36 grandchildren. My grandparents both came off the boat from Ireland, and going through that experience of putting my grandma Rose into a nursing home. She went into the nursing home. I was probably, I don't know, 22 maybe, and I moved into her home. And oh, that was such a special honor, because probably like a 1,200 square foot home where, we'd go there every Sunday with 36 grandchildren plus six kids, her six kids. And we just loved that house. So fun. And putting her in there and watching what it did to my dad's family. My Aunt Mo was the power of attorney. I moved into the house. Absolutely no planning whatsoever. I don't even know if she did have a will. That was it. And, and they were not necessarily wealthy or rich, the stereotypical thing that you think of in regards to estate planning. But watching her go into that nursing home, and I worked a full-time job down in City Hall in Buffalo, would come back to my grandma's house where I was living while she's in nursing home. For my exercise, I'd ride my bike every day to the nursing home, 7 days a week, and go and sit and watch her. And watching her, she had Alzheimer's. So watching her, and yeah, it's a devastating thing, but I have to tell you, Jeff, is really cool because watching, how she regressed back to the days of living in Ireland on the farm. And it's really cool because I would come in, and one day I came in, she's like, "Oh my goodness, you're John Hugh Larry's sister, Catherine. Catherine." And from there on, I was Catherine. And it was really cool. Like at first it was scary, but then it was really cool. But when I fell into estate planning and realizing that, I'm like, I saw that hole. So it destroyed my father's family. There's 6 kids. The boys were all mad at the 2 girls. So two, but they so and so didn't talk to so and so because of fight over money and mom's wishes and all this jazz. So that was really sad because we were all so entirely close. But then when brother Kevin's not talking to sister Maureen anymore, it hurts. It changes the family dynamic because if they both think mom wanted something different. My grandfather was already passed. And so, got through that. And then when my parents both died 8 months apart from each other, and they did it right. They went and got a trust. Again, not totally wealthy or what have you, got all their wishes right down. My dad said, right down to the funeral, he said, "Listen, no, only finger foods. Only finger foods, no forks, no knives, because people need to be able to hold a sandwich and a beer at the same time.
I
You
love
can't have
that.
a beer and eat at the same time. So I want beef on wax sandwiches. I want chicken wings. I want anything. No plates. They got to be able to eat their food and drink their beer at the same time.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
So
what a
right,
great story.
right down to who, I remember sitting in the kitchen table with him and my mom, and they were fighting over who was going to sing at the mass. And he's like, "No, no, no, I want Chucky Basil." She's like, "He's terrible. No, you want so and so." So really fun. They picked out everything right down to the bagpipers, taking us out of the church, and down to everything. Who's going to do what reading, what have you. So great. It sounds great, right? So we have everything done. All 6 of us kids, the grandkids, everyone sitting in. My parents had an in-ground pool in Buffalo, New York, and we had a little pool house. We turned the garage into a pool house in the summer. So that's where we all convene. We think everything's great, right?
Right?
Well, here's the thing, people. Mom and dad's attorney does the estate trust, does the estate planning properly. We're all happy. We're all on the same page. We're like, man alive, we're not fighting like grandma, like you guys did. That was terrible. And so the attorney does the trust, and guess where it goes? In the drawer. And I don't know if they ever talked to their attorney after they built that trust. So now mom was supposed to die first. Dad died first because I think, we're all like, he is always stealing the show. He had to one up her and leave first. He would never survive without her. That's why he left first. And then 8 months later, mom dies. And so we have to plan 2 funerals, go through all that. But again, we're like, we got this because they made it easier for us. Well, when it came time, my dad was part of the VA, served in the Korean War. And when it came time for, all right, mom wants to be cremated, but we had a misunderstanding. I thought mom wanted to be cremated, and I remember a conversation where mom and I talked about we're all going to get baggies of her ashes so she gets to come along with us for the rest of our lives and our grandchildren's lives and our travels. And we'll bring her when the girls and I go to New York City next weekend, or when I brought my nieces and my daughter to Ireland, or to Europe last summer. Oh, we brought my Aunt Barb because we had that conversation with my Aunt Barb after a party fell with my parents. The point of my story is that I remembered something, and my sister Mo remembered something different, and Meg remembered something different. Mom said she wanted to be cremated. So you think we're done, right? No, because I thought she went cremated and we all get her ashes. My sister remembered cremated and the ashes go in the ground. And I say this for your listeners because if our attorney had something extraordinary like you have, Jeff, a maintenance program where we're coming in and reviewing this while we're alive and well, are these still your wishes? And then in the moment, I'm just thinking if we had a family meeting with the estate planning attorney, when mom and I were sitting in that garage in July, and maybe their annual review with the attorney is in November, I could have brought it up and clarified and verified. Like, hey, mom, what does cremation really mean to you? Like, what are we doing with the ashes after? Remember that conversation in the garage? And then we could all had a really healthy, productive conversation. Moral of the story, my family, my sister and I are fine, but it's just a message of you don't create your estate planning and then you're done. Bravo and like they did it better than the generation before, but I just the value of that maintenance program that you create for your clients. For anyone who's listening, like do not skip over taking the power of the pause and sitting down and making it super light and fun and engaging of reviewing your plan, your wishes every year.
For sure. And I know I was always coachable, but I certainly was a slow learner in some aspects. And the maintenance program was something that I resisted. And
Oh,
I only saw it at first as a moneymaker for the firm. And you know me well enough to know that that will never motivate Jeff. That is not
no.
something that's going to
Unless
motivate.
you can give it to charity, then you
Well, that's
will.
true. That is true. That is a good point. And I remember it was you and Susan Hunter, a dear friend of both of ours, and she finally was giving me examples of her clients and how they loved it and how it was they were thanking her and they would have spent any amount of money to get the peace of mind and what it provided. And I had a client in a workshop right around that time that we were having these conversations, and I just asked, well, when was the last time you had your estate plan updated? And she said 22 years. And I said, well, you're right on target. The national average is 20 years, so you're a little late, but hey, you're close. And I just asked for no reason. So, do you remember who did it? And she said, yeah. It was a guy on Duke Street. No, Queens. No. Was that maybe Maine? No, Market. No. And I realized in that moment, she didn't even know who drafted it.
Wow.
There was no relationship. There was no updating. Think about how many times the law changes. I mean, think about all the things that occur. I mean, I purchased 2 practices in the last couple of years, and both of the attorneys were who I would consider to be incredible estate planning attorneys. And in going through their files and meeting with their clients, that was the same form that they used in 2019 when they retired was the same form they used in 1982. And it was never updated. The people who signed him in 1982 never had one single update to them. And I think, how is that possibly accomplishing their objectives? How is that possibly staying up with the law? How is that? And I mean, I think the answer is it isn't. But once I invested in my mind in the maintenance program, to this day, my clients are more thankful for that program and the constant updates and check-ins and seeing us on a monthly basis at events and speakers and appreciation things. And when the law changed in 2019 with the little thing called the Secure Act, I say little thing.
Little.
Yeah, right. We were on it. We had documents updated. We had revisions done. We brought all 600 people into the office and got them updated. Certainly an endeavor. I mean, certainly not an easy task, but that's the stuff that you have to stay on top of. And it's so nice to know that they have an answer. And what happened to your family, hopefully, will never happen to any of our maintenance families, because we do events where we bring in the kids. We do events where we're engaging them, teaching them what it means to be a power of attorney, a trustee, what is going to happen when mom passes. Let's have those conversations now. And I cross my fingers when I say hopefully that will never happen. What happened to your family will never happen to any of our maintenance families for sure, and hopefully any of our clients for that matter. But
And it won't. And I love that you involved the kids, because even thinking about that, I'm like, gosh, even if we went for that annual maintenance program and had that conversation and bantered back and forth, even if what I thought and Mo thought or Colleen thought or Meg thought or Sean thought or what have you, we'd at least be able to like you brought in for your firm? Communication. We're talking about communication all the time. And we get to have that conversation and even thinking about it, well, how much closer it brings the family together too. And then we get to learn for our children and for the next generation. It's a
It's all
gift.
about
It's
learning,
such
isn't
a
it?
gift. Learning, communication, education, and when you bring in guest speakers and different people, different perspectives, like, I mean, what a gift that you're carrying the torch of all the money, time, energy that you invested into coaching professional. You are a lifetime learner. And I think that's one of the benefits that you pass on to your team and to your clients, and the ripple effect and the multiplier by that of really opening up people's minds and educate to motivate on so many different areas that impact your family.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I could talk to you all day.
Yes.
We definitely need to do this again. For the listeners out there, for the attorneys who are looking for staffing, coaching, or anyone who just wants to listen to your podcast, where would they be able to find you?
Absolutely. You can go to hiringandempowering.com and then just subscribe. I put a podcast out every Tuesday, a blog out every Thursday. Always just value add information. I say, even if you're not an attorney, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're a lifetime learner. I really think that the conversation and the messaging transcends to support you anyway, in one small step at a time of improving your mindset. And I'm just really passionate about human behavior and communication and collaboration. So thank you for having me, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, and I would like to thank everyone for joining us on the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law, and, well, hey, anything else we want to talk about. Today was a little bit under the "and anything else we want to talk about" category. A great dear friend of mine, Molly McGrath, and certainly someone I will be forever indebted to, and learned so much, and her lessons stay with me every day. For my listeners, if you want to check us out, we're at www.bellomoassociates.com, or give us a call at 717-845-5390. We have weekly workshops for free in estate planning, crisis Medicaid planning, probate administration, trust administration, special needs planning. If you're looking for any education, please give us a call, absolutely for free. We would love to be able to assist you and educate you so that what happened to my family doesn't happen to yours. Thank you for joining us on the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show. Until next time, we'll see you real soon.